Good morning, Vice-Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to our students and their family and friends, including those who may be watching from afar. I'm Professor Kath Dean, Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences. We thank you for being with us today to celebrate our students as they begin their journey in medicine. Traditions of knowledge sharing and learning have taken place on this land since the dream time, and I invite Uncle Bob to welcome us to country.
Thank you. The land we're meeting on today is the land of the Darug people. Their land stretches from north to the Hawkesbury River, south down the Cooks River, and west to the Blue Mountains, and of course east to the coasts. There is 29 different tribes that make up the nation of the Darug people. The tribe that makes up around here is the Wadamagal people, and they've lived here for over thousands of years. When the first settlers first arrived here in this area, they seemed to get along. They were peaceful, but that all changed when the arrival of the Marines at Parramatta in the fort there. With that, the attitude of the settlers changed towards the Aboriginal people. They started pushing them off, killing them, destroying the land, left them with no way of feeding themselves because they destroyed their access to animal life, ripped up all the native fauna and stuff like that, which they had no access to native plants for cooking and also for medicine. But they did survive in a way. They hit back at them. The Aboriginal people decided that the white people brought some good stuff with them, so they started taking it, like vegetables, lettuce, tomatoes, cabbages and all like that. They liked that. And they started taking their chickens and eggs, they liked that, and also like lamb and cattle like that, they started taking them and eating them. But the settlers got a bit upset with that and hit back again, but after a while they discovered that the Aboriginal people were very good farmers and could look after the animals and stuff like that, so they gave them a job. So they did survive and survived on to today. So on behalf of their elders, past, present and future, I would like to welcome you all here today. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle Bob, and I also wish to acknowledge the Wadamagal people of the Darug Nation and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. I'm delighted to introduce Professor Patrick McNeill, the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences. Professor McNeill is also Macquarie University's inaugural Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Medicine and Health and Managing Director of MQ Health, the university's academic health sciences centre. The purpose of MQ Health is encapsulated in 3 words: heal, learn, discover. And Professor McNeill leads his tripartite mission of combining academic clinical practice, education and research. Professor McNeill is a graduate in medicine from the University of Tasmania. He completed his PhD in immunology at the University of New South Wales, and he is a Fellow of the Royal Australian College of Physicians with specialty training in rheumatology. After spending 3 years as a postdoctoral fellow at the Harvard Medical School, he returned to Australia and worked as a clinical academic for over 25 years, combining research, teaching, and caring for patients with arthritis. He has published over 100 scientific papers that have together been cited by other authors nearly 6,000 times. Prior to joining Macquarie University, he held leadership roles of Associate Dean Education at the University of New South Wales, Executive Clinical Director of the Liverpool Hospital in Sydney, and Chair of Arthritis Australia. Please welcome Professor Patrick McNeill.
Vice-Chancellor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me start by also thanking Uncle Bob for his words and welcoming you to to this land and also paying my personal respect to the traditional owners on this land that we share. And thank you, Kath, for that introduction. As the academic leader of the MD program here at Macquarie, it's a great pleasure to welcome the families and friends of our students to our campus. I know your support has been crucial in enabling your daughters, your sons, or your partners to realise the opportunity to follow their dream to enter the medical profession, and I thank you for that support. For me, educating medical students, mentoring young doctors, and seeing them flourish is one of the most rewarding and enjoyable experiences that a person could have. And being so personally involved in the Macquarie MD and its implementation has been incredibly enjoyable. Many of my fellow academics and clinicians are also present today, and I know I speak for all of them in giving you our collective commitment to continue to bring that enjoyment, that excitement and enthusiasm we all share, as well as our innovation, our passion and our caring to the education, training and mentorship of the Macquarie MD class entering in 2019. Institutions of higher education where we're gathered today are powerful academies of scholarship, capable and indeed expected to transform the lives of all who pass through these halls. But in the medical faculty, we have a special mission to do much more than that. Society entrusts its universities to educate and train the next generation of professionals to serve society's future needs. And at Macquarie, we take that responsibility very seriously. In developing the Macquarie MD and selecting students to study within it, our ambition is to prepare you, the class who will graduate and enter practice in 2023, to be future leaders of the medical profession and to use all that you will learn here at Macquarie for social good. Today is an important day for our faculty. Last year we started a tradition that we believe will endure through future generations and will create a point of difference for the Macquarie medical program compared to other experiences of medical programs in Australia. At this event, we formally recognise through ritual our student doctors' rite of passage to mark the beginning of their professional careers. The ritual has two parts. In the first, as Dean of the faculty, I will welcome each student into the medical profession as student doctors by presenting them with their own personal stethoscope. The stethoscope, invented by a French physician more than 200 years ago, is a powerful symbol of the medical profession and its values of altruism, compassion, honour and respect. In the second part of the ritual, our students will publicly declare here today, in words they have written themselves, in the presence of their family, friends and teachers, their commitment to how they will undertake learning and how they will undertake medical practice. The choice our students have made to enter the medical profession is a rare honour and an extraordinary privilege that should never be taken for granted. We are fortunate at Macquarie to have a Vice-Chancellor and President who, as well as being an inspirational leader of this university, is also a physician. Someone who made that same choice himself many years ago, as our students have done now, to follow his calling to help many, cure some and comfort all. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to invite our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Bruce Doughton, to give the keynote address.
Thank you, Patrick. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be here at the welcoming of the second cohort of medical students to Macquarie University. I'm delighted that so many of your families have been able to join us and your supporters. And I especially offer my greetings as well to those from across the oceans who are chiming in today by simulcast. Whatever time zone you're in and whatever location you're in at this time, I certainly hope you feel a warm welcome to Macquarie University as well. Today's ceremony is a recognition of a significant milestone for each of you as individuals, for your families, and also for Macquarie University in welcoming you. For each of you, as the Dean has indicated, it marks your entry into what I hope will at least be partly a calling to medicine, as more than a career, more than a job, but a way of thinking, a way of being. Medicine is about both science and art. As the decades have rolled by, the science of medicine fills us increasingly with awe. It is a quest for deeper and greater understanding of disease. It is a drive towards precision. On the one hand, the science of medicine is the search for more and more detail, for more granular, for a deeper understanding. On the other hand, it is now also, especially with the advent of artificial intelligence tools, the synthesis of vast arrays of detail into more comprehensive and complex understandings of the causation of disease and how the many wonderful treatments which we offer today work, and a never-ending search to improve them. Now about the other side of medicine, the art of medicine. This is about something very different. It is about the importance of words, the power of touch. It is about seeing the person before you not as a patient alone, not as a diagnosis, not as a case, but as first and foremost a real person. A person with all of the complexity that personhood brings and the wonders of unique individuality affords. Who is he? Where does she fit into her family? What is her work? What are his key personal relationships? For these real people, real individuals, what are their worries? What are their fears? What are their hopes? What are their dreams? And the art of medicine is sometimes also the fine line that exists between hope and truth when bad news needs to be discussed. The art of medicine is also about being honest. It is about saying when you don't know something, but not stopping there. It is about offering to find out the answer if you possibly can. The art of medicine is above all about engendering trust, deep trust, and confidence. I thank Professor McNeill, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Medicine and Health and Executive Dean, for his invitation to address you here today. You have already started on our medical education program, which I believe to be among the most innovative in this land. As our students, you will be at the very leading edge of preparation for a lifetime of professional success and, I hope, fulfilment through a dedicated attention to the design of this program by Professor McNeill and his many colleagues. It is a truly unique program, most particularly as I suspect it is the first truly global medical education program. You will have opportunities to study both here on our campus, at partner institutions in Australia, and far afield around the world. Not in a cursory way, but in a deep way that I hope will prepare you not only for the care of individual persons, but also to understand better the healthcare system, and particularly where doctors fit into that. My hope is that many of you will emerge as leaders to reshape health systems at a time when when societies, when governments are challenged to keep pace with how to provide safe and efficient care and keep it affordable. When Professor McNeill asked me to address this gathering, I began thinking, What could I say that perhaps would be useful as you embark upon your journey? Several thoughts came to mind. Now, first of all, as I told our inaugural MD class last year, I suggest that you all relax. You have achieved the hardest milestone anyone interested in a career in medicine will ever have put before them, and that is getting into medical school. There'll be lots of people along the way who will give you lots of advice about how difficult each next step is, how hard the study is, how hard the exams are, how difficult it is to get into the postgraduate training program you want, how hard it is to be in the city you want to be in the hospital you want to be in, how hard it is to align your schedules with that of your girlfriend or boyfriend or spouse or lover, how hard it is to fit it with the children's sporting activities on weekends or the dog's grooming appointments. You'll get lots of advice about how difficult it all is. The reality is that all may be true, that all may be tough, but nothing is as hard as getting into medical school. So I suggest the first bit of advice is just relax and enjoy the moment. As I begin this journey with us, I cast my mind back to being a young boy, about 7 years old, visiting my grandparents on their 56,000-acre outback sheep ranch in the flat, desolate interior of Australia, where it is not sheep per acre, but acres per sheep. When that little boy cast his mind back to that setting so long ago, he sees out of the dark evening, starlit lit sky, a light aircraft coming into land with a doctor and a nurse on board, landing on a daytime-only runway with landing lights being provided by many cars lined up by the side of the runway and 44-gallon drums of burning kerosene rags at each end of the driveway to guide the pilot from the Royal Flying Doctor Service to a safe landing. There to whisk his critically ill young cousin off to Broken Hill for life-saving emergency surgery in the middle of the night. How could that little boy have imagined anything more exciting than to want to be a doctor? How could then that same little boy, when he was a young man, having just arrived 11 years later from a working class rural family in rural New South Wales to the big city to begin as a medical student at that other university across town with a few sandstone bricks? How could that young man have ever seen where entering the profession of medicine would lead him in his professional life? Back then, on that Saturday in late April, in 1975, 44 years ago, when he was at your stage, how could he have ever seen that he would leave Australia almost immediately after medical school to pursue a career in paediatrics at the Boston Children's Hospital? That he would move from Boston to Washington University in St. Louis to be the director of the Division of Medical Genetics at the age of just 30. That he would return to Australia as Dean of the Medical School at the University of New South Wales when he was in his early 40s as the youngest dean ever appointed in Australia. That he would have had aspiration to be a university president, seemingly destroyed by becoming involved in the margins of a very nasty scientific misconduct case. That in silent protest about a matter of high principle, he would take his young family in free fall with no job back to the United States to search for a new professional start. That he would end up being a professor at Harvard Medical School. He would never have imagined that he would then travel the world, almost to the ends of the globe and back, advising governments, hospitals, universities, and healthcare systems about health and higher education in China, in India, in the Dominican Republic, in Kazakhstan, in Libya, in Brazil, and the list goes on. How could he have seen that he could possibly end up at this stage of his professional life leading this remarkable university, named for a man whom I believe was the greatest colonial governor in the early fledgling convict colony of Sydney? And finally, he could never possibly have seen that he would be standing here today, welcoming a wonderful group of colleagues into a great university. What a privilege. Let me dwell here for a moment, if you will, and examine the nature of privilege. When I think about how I got to be where I am, to do all those things, and to end up standing here today, there have been several contributing factors. Sure, I worked hard. I had some lucky breaks along the way as well. But at the root of it all, I believe that the many substantial blessings I have had in my professional life have arisen from two very simple things. Firstly, being born into a wonderful working class family whose parents cared simply about one thing, a better life for their two sons than they had for themselves. And secondly, my education. I urge you all, our students here today, to dwell today and regularly on that notion of privilege and give especially time to think deeply about the concept of gratitude. I urge you to be thankful and mindful for how you got to be here on this day. It is, I've no doubt to a great degree, like me, a result of a lot of years of hard work, application. It's also your native intellect. But also for most of you, I imagine those thoughts of gratitude and caring will go to your family and those who you hold most dearly. They are sending you across this city, across this nation, and across the globe. That is the gold standard of caring I would advocate, the caring bonds that exist in a family or with our closest devoted lifelong friends. Think about that as a gold standard of caring as you embark upon caring for other human beings. So the second thought I have for you today is to dwell in a purposeful way on that notion of gratitude, being thankful that you are here and at each step of your journey along the way as it plays out. Be thankful and mindful of how you got to be there. Now, a moment ago I shared with you a little of my own journey, and I certainly did not tell you those bits of biography for purposes of self-promotion. I did so to suggest that you are embarking upon a professional journey with so many opportunities, such a diverse range of career choices, so many directions, and so many interesting things to do. Just as they have been for me, some of those opportunities will be easy, welcome, and thrilling. Just as for me as well, others will be disappointing, daunting, and confronting. All part of the richness of individual career pathways as you now begin. Reflecting back on the many and diverse opportunities in my own career, none of which I could have seen back on that day in late April in 1975, I urge you to keep your eyes open for every opportunity. You're all very bright, or you wouldn't be here. I also believe that the most interesting and fulfilling careers and lives come from those who develop a sense of innate curiosity, a yearning to understand why something is the way it is, curiosity to want to get behind a closed door, to take a peek through the door that is cracked slightly open and see what is in there. Curiosity will enrich your experience as a medical student, a young doctor, and a seasoned clinician or practitioner, or whatever you do, enormously. Will also help you build resilience, diversifying your coping mechanisms through experience. For those moments when what you confront is daunting, remember and draw on the resilience that has brought you as far as you have come. So my third thought for you is be curious. Just a moment, if you will. Now, you might be wondering why the stage is up there and I moved down here. Well, I'm down here to make two simple points. Firstly, I wanted you to know that we're now part of the same profession. And I want to stand on the same level, on the same field. I want to stand among you and with you. I'm also down here to be closer to you, to catch your eye, hopefully individually along the way, as I proceed on, to say that we are also always on the same level as our patients. We stand on the same ground as everyone else who treads the planet Earth. Not above, not superior, not elevated to some exalted stature. We are on the same level, entrusted with the high privilege of being allowed to enter the innermost lives of those people we call patients. Their sickness, their health, their being born and their dying. So very much of the wonder of medicine is about helping, making our patients feel better. It's about cure and healing. But sometimes it is about stepping back and about letting go. Respecting that the cycle of life is unending and unpredictable. That like us, our patients are born unto this world, and like us, they too will die from this world. What I'm driving at here, my next point is, the people for whom we care should be at the centre of our attention, at the centre of the healthcare system. We and the health system should serve those who need us first and not the other way around. Overtly or subtly, in my view, in too many developed economies, including at times in this nation, too often the healthcare system, that is the way healthcare is delivered, is about what is good for doctors or the healthcare system, and not is what is first the right thing for people that are patients. I want to digress here for a moment and share with you, our new students and your guests, a very recent part of my life that profoundly reminded me of the importance of putting the patient first and any other consideration way down the list in terms of priority. I'm happy to share this very personal story with you to underscore again that the art of medicine is never forgetting that we deal with real people, real individuals, and emphatically not patients or cases alone. I recently spent an unanticipated and emotionally very harrowing week in New York City or nearby in the United States, attending to a deeply personal family matter. About 4 weeks before my trip, the grandmother of my 3 children was diagnosed with a very aggressive, nasty disease. Allow me to tell you a little bit about my children's grandmother. A bright and charming 92-year-old lady, a lady with all her wits about her. Born into a dynastic New England family, descendant of a man who would have been President of the United States had he not declined to be Abraham Lincoln's running mate at election. Well educated in fine colleges and universities. She had led a wonderful life, a life shared until a few years ago with a terrific man who practiced solo obstetrics and gynecology for almost 40 years in a small town in southern Connecticut. Together they raised 6 children, all now successful. In baseball, she loved the Red Sox and hated the New York Yankees. She was elected repeatedly to elected office as a Democrat, I would say, in a very Republican town. A wonderful, wonderful lady. I went to New York City to help my children's grandmother arrange end-of-life care. Essentially, to fend off, in her view and mine, as the person who held the power of attorney over her medical advising, the overly aggressive attempts by a series of doctors representing different branches of medicine at a major tertiary institution, who wanted her to accept treatment. Big, complex, invasive, debilitating treatment. She didn't want any of this. She wanted to remain in the comfort of her own home, to do the things she liked to do, to read the New York Times from cover to cover over breakfast, to spend the day doing the crossword puzzle on and off, fiercely resisting any temptation to reach for the 8-inch thick dictionary sitting beside her armchair to check a spelling or a meaning. She wanted to be surrounded by those who love her and care about her. She didn't want a big operation, didn't want more tests, didn't want to be uncomfortable, have invasive treatments that have made her feel lousy and take her away from the dignity of her own chosen pathway to the next life. She deserved to be at the centre of the decision-making. She deserved the system to respond to what she judged best for herself. And as time marched rapidly towards that day about 2 weeks ago, just over 6 weeks after her first diagnosis, when the tide flowed out for one final time, with my children's wonderful mother, I accompanied their grandmother. We went to several medical appointments. I made a lot of phone calls. I talked with her specialists, with her primary care doctor, with the home nursing service. I chatted with her, interpreted for her and for her children what was being said, what was going on. Then each day, as I rode the train back from southern Connecticut to my hotel in Manhattan, it just kept washing over me. Who is there putting the patient first? Who is actually listening to what she is saying? To put the patient's needs in front and centre every single time, every single person. So my thoughts here for you are to genuinely keep the real person, that is the patient, in front and centre always. On to my next thought for you. Keep your eyes and minds open for the possibility of finding a good mentor. It was around this time, about 3 years ago, that I gave the hardest public address I'd ever given in my life. Then, as I entered the Great Hall of Sydney University for the memorial service of Emeritus Professor Reverend Blackburn, AC, I felt daunted. Dr. Blackburn had been my mentor for just over 40 years. I met him when he had just retired. He came to the hospital to teach medical students. He had just died at the age of 103. He was my closest mentor and dear friend for those 40 years. He was the doyen of Australian medicine. As Professor of Medicine at the University of Sydney and the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, he founded in Australia many of the clinical disciplines that you will all study as the years roll out. He had travelled a road less travelled himself. In his young days, he did not go to the traditional great teaching hospitals of London, Edinburgh or Glasgow. Instead, he went to Columbia University in New York City and New York Presbyterian Hospital. I first met Dr. Blackburn when I was a medical student in my year 3, and to this day I could take you to the bed space where we had our first interaction at that hospital. He consistently, to all of us, modelled the essence of calling to the practice of medicine, about treating the whole patient, not just their illness, not just their organ system, and certainly not their interesting lab result or molecular defect, always the whole patient. For me, his mentorship also extended to fostering my curiosity about the link between scientific discovery and the advances of clinical care. He gave me wise advice, sometimes against the advice of everyone else. He understood me, and he knew what it was like to yearn, as I did, for the road less travelled. So here my advice is keep your mind open to the possibility of finding a mentor, someone to turn to for advice and counsel along the way. I am drawn to the words of African-American lawyer in Washington, D.C., Dr. Marion Wright Edelman. Dr. Edelman founded the American organization, the Children's Defense Fund, which is an organization which advocates for the rights of children in the United States because they do not vote. In her book, Lanterns, a memoir of her mentors, she defined mentors as those who, and I quote, illuminate dark and uncertain paths, calm and still debilitating fears and doubts, with encouraging words, wise lessons, gentle touches, firm nudges, and faithful actions on the road of life. What other thoughts might I offer you? Well, as you're now plunging into the study of medicine, I'm confident that you're already finding it's pretty full on, right? Pretty full on. It's demanding of time, intellect, and it can certainly be draining. I'm here to tell you that this is not going to change anytime soon. Life in medicine requires great commitment and many personal sacrifices. Despite all of that, I do urge you all to work your way to a good work-life balance set point. It's hard, and I'm certainly no role model here, although I am recently getting a bit better. So I'll leave that to you, just simple advice about paying attention to work-life balance. I also urge you to keep in touch with your family and friends. A quick text message or call, a WhatsApp message, or a photo on Facebook or whatever the latest digital platform that you guys use these days. I can't keep up with them. It really doesn't take that much time, and it means so, so much to these folks here and around the world to hear from you. Now let me offer you a couple of final reflections. Over my years as a physician, in the quietude of my own countenance, there are several thoughts that keep recurring to me. A couple of them I've already mentioned. The first is that being in medicine for me has been a great privilege. A privilege enjoyed by no other profession. The second thought that keeps coming is the fact that I've been able to live the life I have to this day fills me with that sense, as I mentioned earlier, of great gratitude. I tell myself any time that I don't feel grateful for every opportunity put before me, even if I couldn't quite see it at the time, I should stop and do something else. Finally, and increasingly as the years and decades have rolled on, I've come to regard what medicine has offered to me, beginning those 44 years ago in 1975, as a gift. In fact, two gifts: the gift of roots and the gift of wings. The gift of roots to be part of a profession which carries a time-honoured, lofty and noble set of traditions. A calling, as the Dean and I have both mentioned, if you will. A calling to service, to serve those who need us, to bring to them the art and science of the craft and profession that we are now all part of. Your program here at Macquarie University, I believe, will give you ample exposure to the best of those traditions of our profession. But it will also challenge you, I hope, to think about those aspects which do need change, and indeed those aspects of tradition which need to be relegated to the historical archives of a bygone era. The second gift, the gift of wings. For me, this gift of wings has been about pushing myself to seize opportunity, to explore, to go beyond, to challenge the expectations those around me had for me, to travel and work all over the world, and yes, in my case at times, to travel the road less travelled. A medical degree has allowed me to do so very much. That metaphoric gift of wings has not only stimulated my intellectual curiosity, but also as a clinical geneticist, it has introduced me to many wonderful families and children, often at some of the darkest times of their lives. I long ago realised, ladies and gentlemen, that from my patients, I learned far more than they ever learned from me. From them, I learned about courage. I learned about resilience. From them, I learned about compassion and acceptance. And from them I learned about the difference between empathy and sympathy. When you least expect it, something will happen that will make you realise that in medicine we often touch people's lives for a very, very long time. For us, it's what we do, hour in, hour out, day in, day out, week in, week out. It's not so for those persons we call patients. A single interaction can make, or a series of interactions, can make such a lasting impact and last a long while, as we help them with their joys, their sorrows, all in the quest for healing of body, mind, and spirit. A couple of years out of nowhere, sitting in the Chancellery just over the way, I received an email from a US college student out of the clear blue sky. It's almost one of those ones where I hit the delete button because I didn't recognise who it came from, and the Chief Information Officer tells us all never to open emails we don't know where they come from. Anyway, I opened it. And I'll read you a little bit of that email. Dear Dr. Dowden, about 21 years ago, while you were working in St. Louis, Missouri, you helped my parents get through one of the toughest times of their life. My mum and dad, and she mentions their names, had their first baby, a little boy, whom you diagnosed with a rare, devastating hereditary illness of the neurological system, and she used the disease name. She went on to say, at 2 months only, my brother Mark eventually succumbed to his illness, causing my parents to enter one of the darkest times of their lives. When I was around 13, my dad told me about these dark times and how without you, neither he nor my mum could ever have made it through that difficult time. The email goes on. My dad is the strongest man I know, and he still tears up every time he speaks of you and everything that you did for my family. That simple email, 20 years, just over 20 years down the line, reminded me that we must never underestimate the lasting impact that we can have on people's lives. So, ladies and gentlemen, our wonderful new class of 2023, I say to Professor Patrick McNeil and his terrific group of colleagues who have designed this wonderful program for you, how immensely proud I am as you welcome this wonderful group of young people into our medical school and induct them as members of the medical profession. You are a beacon in this university for the continued innovative spirit that was the founding of Macquarie University. To the mothers and fathers and partners, guests of this wonderful class here today, nearby, in Australia and around the world, I say thank you for entrusting us with these young people for this part of their journey into a life of professional self-discovery. To our students, each and every one of you, I say congratulations. I am delighted to have you join Macquarie University. To summarise my advice, I say relax. Keep those professional doors open for as long as you can. Always put the patient in front and centre. Find a mentor if you can that you like and trust. Do look after yourselves and each other. Don't forget your family and close friends. Be in touch. And most importantly, as this, your journey begins, never forget those two gifts. The gift of roots to belong to this great profession, and the gift of wings to take you and your life in presently unimaginable directions, all in the service of others. My wish for you all is that you will have lives filled with good health, professional success, and abiding personal happiness as future practitioners and leaders in medicine in this nation or wherever your remarkable careers will take you. These are my thoughts. Welcome aboard. Patrick, thank you.
Thank you, Vice-Chancellor. Macquarie University identifies itself as being a university of service and engagement. with its ambitions driven by a sense of service to others and a desire to deeply engage with them in order to collectively succeed. The inclusion, or as the VC would say, the gift of wings, the inclusion of global experiences in the Macquarie MD is designed to promote openness to diversity and greater levels of tolerance and ethical reasoning. Our students will complete clinical rotations in Hyderabad, India at the Apollo hospitals. Dr. Venkata Ram, our campus dean at Apollo, is unable to be here today, but has prepared a very special address for us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Venkata Ram from Apollo Hospital, Hyderabad, India. I congratulate the students who are entering this great medical profession and embarking on a journey where you contribute immensely to the well-being of the society at large and also the whole world as a result of your medical profession. I also offer my congratulations to the families of students who have participated in the decision making that your children have made to enter what I feel is a very noble profession to serve the community at large. You are going to have a wonderful experience with the Macquarie MD program, with the curriculum and syllabus here, which will be integrated and partnered with clinical experience at Apollo Hospital, Hyderabad, India. Apollo Hospital, India is a part of a large chain of very innovative national hospitals. You'll be coming to Hyderabad, which is one of the flagship hospitals of the Jubilee. It's at Jubilee Hills. It's one of the flagship hospitals of Apollo. Apollo Hospital in Hyderabad is an integrated medical surgical hospital where all medical and surgical services are provided. Medicine, surgery, obstetrics, gynecology, pediatrics, orthopedics, trauma, emergency medicine, oncology, plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery, and all related specialties are integrated. It is a referral hospital where people come not only from the city of Hyderabad, but they also come from the state of Telangana and from all other states in India, as well as from several other countries. It has a multidisciplinary approach to take care of patients with any medical condition or disease, either medical or surgical. And it is one of the hospitals which has got a reputation of providing excellence in medical care with very good outcomes. Apollo Hospital is rated not only as one of the best hospitals in India, but also globally due to its founding mission, which is sustained by the quality of people who work at Apollo Hospital. The clinical experience that you will get at Apollo will add to the value of your medical training in becoming a doctor. In Hyderabad, you will see that conditions which are common in Australia, but you will also see medical conditions which are uncommon in Australia. So that is an experience that will be quite unique and that adds a different dimension to your training. And on behalf of Apollo Hospitals, Hyderabad, I look forward to welcoming you for clinical training in Hyderabad in your third year and also during your fourth year of medical training. And our expectation is that you will find the training in Hyderabad to be educational, to be inspiring, and to be valuable. And the Macquarie MD degree will be one of the unique degrees where you will have a exposure to conventional medicine from here in Sydney, as well as on global health represented at Apollo. So the Apollo-Macquarie partnership is something that is of great benefit to you individually as well as to the medical profession and ultimately to the patients that you'll be serving wherever you're going to practice. Again, a warm welcome and congratulations and best wishes as you embark on a journey to become an excellent doctor in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ram. I'd like to invite Professor McNeil back to the stage to present our students with their stethoscopes. Macquarie University was established in 1964 to be a distinctive, progressive and transformational institution of higher education. Its values, scholarship, integrity and empowerment guide our Macquarie University community in all that we do. The stethoscopes presented to our students today will be a reminder of these values and Macquarie University. Ladies and gentlemen, in a moment I will introduce our 2019 students. Please hold your applause to the end. Our students are Paulina Arjaman, Hamid Ahmad, Sharaf Alam, Kevin Aldenu, Emma Blackwood, David Boucher, Zoe Boyer, Kurt Bridgeton, Anuya Chavan, Matthew DeBros, Priya Daramaja, Annabelle Ferrari, Samuel Gray, Kieran Hanna, Ariella Heffen Marks. Kim Hugh. Amy Hoffman. Irish Varsha Iradudurai. Louise Jin. Krishma Joshi. Rita Kalnouzi. Pratusha Kanakante. Si Yun Kim. John Caro. Chris Krishnakumar. Gus Longtawatkul. Karina Lee. Christine Manuel. Libby Marison. Daniel Mason. Gareth Mason. Emma McCafferty. James McClellan. Samuel Moskatos. Annabelle Nemonsky. Anna Nguyen. Vivian Nguyen. Terry Nichols. Adrian Novak. Charlotte Officer. Ella Renantham. Alexis Roberts. Mohammed Sajid. Amrit Sanju. Jahan Sekond. Nietzsche Sintoy. Anna Shin. Kobe Smithers. Rafthina Raghavan. Steve Tao. Jesse Thompson. Esther Singh. Gavin Volpato. Elizabeth Zarafis. Sam Wilson. Liz Wong. Terence Wong. Jack Woodley. Alice Wu. Plamon Shu. Raphael Yip. And our final student, Eleanor Zhao. Please put your hands together to congratulate our 2019 Macquarie MD students.
Ladies and gentlemen, today, as I said, today's ceremony marks a rite of passage for our students and continues a tradition for the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences that we started last year with our inaugural class. So as part of this tradition, our students will, in their own words, commit to learning, to their profession, to their communities and to their patients. I ask students please stand to deliver their oath.
I'd now like to invite the Vice-Chancellor and Deputy Vice-Chancellor back onto the stage for photographs. Let everyone get theirs as well. Okay, the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences warmly invite you to join us now for lunch. From 1:30, you can also join one of our MD teaching staff for a tour of our teaching facilities. And we thank you for joining us today with this wonderful celebration and we wish our students well. Please stand and continue to applaud our students as our Vice-Chancellor and Deputy Vice-Chancellor lead our students from the stage. Need to follow. Thank you. Please join your families.